everyone, I'm Jeff Whelan, the host of the WB Download, and I want to invite you and welcome you to our podcast. My brother and I own and operate Whelan Builders. It's a custom home building company here in Southwest Ohio. The WB Download mostly focuses on interviewing folks associated with custom building. We stray now and then to interview people who I think are interesting and to break up the monotony of the same old podcast. I also like to highlight things that are going on in my everyday life along with our businesses. I started this podcast to help people understand the custom builder world, but to also give people a chance to hear what others have to say and highlight their expertise and experiences in life. We drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month with a new topic and or guest each time. I hope you join us here on the WB Download and enjoy listening and hearing stories of people in and out of the custom builder world. Welcome to the WB Download. All right. Well, hello again, everybody. Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. And I got to tell you, we passed by the saddest day of the year. It's either the happiest day of the year or the saddest day of the year, but summer solstice is something. Winter solstice, I always think, is a great day of the year because it's the shortest day of the year, and that means the days are going to continue to get longer. I should be happy on summer solstice because it's the longest day of the year. I wish that the time would just, stay like this. Daylight would stay like this. I don't care how cold it gets. But anyway, we passed summer solstice. It's officially summer. And I think that it is just boiling hot. We've had nothing but rain leading up to this point. So we went from a drought last year to nothing but rain this year. And I'm hoping that it stays somewhat consistent with a little bit of rain. It's been nice. I'm going out into the field and taking a picture of our corn every week, about every 7 to 8 days, just to watch the progress. And I started off just, kind of measuring it with somebody standing there with their foot in my hand, but then taking a tape measure on it. And that rain is just amazing what it does for it. So my goal with that is I'm going to take it and put it into a flip book and give it to the guys that farm our property, the crops anyway. Thought they would get interested in it and just see how their corn and that seed does. So anyway, that's a lot of weather talk because I don't know, it's midsummer and we're fired up, man. We're busy. Job starts. We are starting an in-law suite on the back of our Homerama house for Mark and Sarah Dezard, for Sarah's parents. And so that's a pretty fun project because this is now the fourth project that we are doing for them and leading into our fifth because we're also going to finish the basement of their house at the same time. We're starting two great big jobs that are in that neighborhood at the end of the street on 22 acres there and for two brothers. And that's we had two groundbreaking ceremonies. We're getting ready to do another one this week, I think, or the following week. And these are two just really, really amazing houses, two different architects. Just going to be a fun process to see this go through. One of them's got two barns on it. They both have somewhat of a detached barn look for their garages and their houses, and it's going to be fun project. So we've got a contract that we signed here, and these folks, I have worked with them for about 5 or 6 years. And we started off in different areas, and I've been walking lots with them, and we've been drawing plans. We've been pricing things out, and it's just been so cool to be able to finally sign this contract. And that we stuck with each other all this time, and just to get to know these people and to learn more about them has been probably the fun part. Hearing about their kids getting married, and we're just going through those things. So that's been fun. We've got a couple closings that are happening. I call them completions that we have happening that are on jobs that are a couple big jobs that have been going on for a while with all the detail and so much stuff going on them. So we're going to wrap those up, and there's going to be some families getting ready to move into their homes. So if you check out our website at whelanbuilders.com, we've now got a progress page on there showing you all the houses that we have under construction. And I get a kick out of this because people have been seeing it. And for one, they come up to me and they start talking to me about it. And I'm like, well, I'm glad people are checking out the website. But they're like, I thought you guys only built like 3 or 4 houses a year. And I feel like that Tim McGraw Faith Hill commercial where Tim McGraw's buying like a Diet Coke or something in the gas station. And those 2 old women at the cash register are asking him all about Faith Hill and what it's like to be married in Faith Hill. And Tim goes, I managed to sing a few songs myself, and that's the way I feel like them. People underplay what they think you do. So it's good to see everybody checking out the website and seeing the progress that we have going on out there in the field. It's so cool. I mean, we've got some really good guys out in the field now building these houses. It's taken a long time to get to that point, so I'm excited about getting that in place. We've got some heavy hitters here in the office. We've had some turnover here in the last couple weeks, and no matter how disappointing things happen with that, with people leaving, it's always a positive for me because somebody's going somewhere and getting what they want. And we're probably moving on to something that's going to improve and make things better as well for everybody. So, disappointment, highs and lows. It's been a hell of a week here the last couple of weeks, I guess I should say. We're putting out fires and firing people up and calming people down. And anyway, I always say that I'm surprised that builders aren't all bipolar. You're up and down so much. You're pissed off and you're happy. You're drunk and you're sober and you're married and at home having a family, and you're at work just going crazy and you got to talk to a concrete finisher, and you got to be able to talk to a multi-billion-dollar CEO company, person who runs a company. So there's so many ups and downs. But I've been doing this long enough, been in this business my whole life to understand that it is what it is. It is what it ain't, says a lot of people. But anyway, let's talk about today's show. Today's show, we have Caroline on Design. Carrie Barker is out in Champaign, Illinois, and Leanne came across her doing some marketing research and started looking at some of the stuff she does. And it's an interesting show that we have today. Carrie is somebody who built a house, had a house built. And during the process of building her house, she had her own design. She had a lot of things that she did for the house, and people started coming up and saying, "Hey, I like this. I like this." And she started putting together processes and putting together things that could help people prior to building the house and while they're building the house. So that's pretty neat. And we saw it and said, "Hey, let's find out what she's got going on." She's working with people all over the country. She's got some ties to Southwest Ohio here, and I think that I mentioned this in the interview, but I think that we want to try and find one of our customers to work with her a little bit and see how it goes, and then we can have Carrie back on a show and talk about that process and how it went and the customer. So it just sets us up to investigate this more and learn more about each other and to do some things together. So pretty excited to have Carrie on the show today. I do not know her, and so I interviewed her. We had a really good conversation, and I enjoyed it. So without further ado, here is Caroline on Design. So everyone, as we said, today our guest on the WB Download is Carrie Barker. Carrie is with Caroline on Design. And Carrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So Carrie, I think that if people I'm sure people could go and figure out who Caroline on Design is. But I want to know, where you at? What brings you to the building world? Why are you on the WB Download?
I'm not exactly sure why you guys chose me. I'm glad you did, but I kind of come from a different perspective. I help people. I'm not a builder. I help people who are building. I'm kind of a third party person so that they have somebody on their side who's not their builder, who's not a contractor, who's not an architect. I'm just kind of walking them through the process of finding the right builder and being able to communicate with their builder in a, really powerful way. So
that sounds like
I come from a very different perspective. Yeah.
I think, I always tell people, I'm like, we all call ourselves builders, but really we're just managers and problem solvers. So, it sounds a lot like what we do. So
that is true.
Where are you at? Where do you call home and what led you, to where you are today?
I live in Illinois. I live where the University of Illinois is, Champaign, and I actually built a house when my girls were little. We're actually in a little suburb, but I built a house when they were young. And that's kind of what just snowballed this whole thing. I didn't mean to start a business. I had no building experience before this. But I designed a house. People liked it. And I realized I kind of had some knowledge to share and I could walk people through the process. So that's kind of where it started. I actually went to Miami of Ohio, though. So I used to be near you.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have a sister who lives in Cincinnati, so that's cool too. But yeah, so I just kind of organically started this business that I didn't mean to start, and it's taken off. And I love what I do. I have clients from all over the country that join my program, some even out of the country, and we just have a really good time. It's completely online. It's all online. So that's really fun too.
Everything is online. So do you ever come back to Miami for all the alumni stuff?
I don't, but I'm going there and next month, I think, to take my younger daughter for a college visit there. So I will be there, but that's how long ago I graduated. Now my kids are going to college.
We just finished a house outside the university there, and when you have to be so careful traveling through town because those kids have the right of way, and so you just have to understand that rolling into Oxford. So you, I mean, I've talked to a number of different builders throughout the years who got started like this, had a horrible process of building a house and thought all these things could go better. Or they were building a house and the builder disappeared on them, or whatever. All the crazy stories that I have to knock the wall down on when I start talking to customers happen to these people, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I really enjoyed this process. I want to go out and start building." So, is that similar to your situation, or you just got into it, built a house, and you're like, "I love this. Let's keep on doing some more stuff"?
Well, that is not totally similar to mine because I had a really good experience actually, which is great. We had a builder who was relatively new to building, and so we got a lot of personal attention, and he was great. And he built a beautiful house. So I actually, after I built, I didn't think I would I just thought I'd live here. It'd be great. And, but then when we started having people stop and take pictures of our house or come up to our front door and ask us questions or stop my husband in the yard and ask questions, I realized people like my design. And that's when I thought, well, I can turn this into a hobby. So I just kind of started posting pictures of the house. People were real interested. They had a lot of questions about the custom home build process. And that's when I decided, okay, I didn't even decide. It just turned into a business. I have no business experience before this. I didn't even take a single class in college, a single business class. So I am more of a big picture planner too. That's what I enjoy doing. I help people with the big picture planning before they ever even go hire their builder. And then once they do hire their builder, I help them to communicate with their builder. So it's a really interesting niche that I created, I think.
How do you approach the builder, and is it the customer approaching the builder, or are you approaching the builder, telling them what your position is and how you're going to handle things, and how do you take their guard down when you get into the situation?
So I actually have no contact with the builders.
Okay.
What I do is when I call my people clients, but really what they are, I have a group program. They're all in my program, and they're going through it they're going through it individually, but they're learning from the coursework so that they can go communicate with their builder. So I'm totally third party. I have no contact with any of their home build team at all.
Does the builder know that you're involved?
Sometimes they do, but my main thing is just to equip my clients so that they know, so that they can find the right builder and communicate with them. And when I say like communicate with them, I mean being able to clearly explain what they want so that their builder can give them an accurate quote because they know exactly what the person is thinking. So that's kind of what I do. I do the big picture planning where through guided questions, they're figuring out how their family's going to live, what rooms they absolutely have to have. Do they want high-end appliances? Do they want custom cabinets? Like thinking about all of these things that are going to affect how they can explain what they want to their builder, and it's going to affect the cost. Because my whole thing is trying to keep them on budget because I built my house on budget, and I know it's possible. But I know you have to be very clear with your builder ahead of time to get the right quote, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. We always say that we need information. That's what we want from you.
Yeah.
I would think that in my experiences through the years, where if I had somebody who I knew as a customer wasn't building oriented, but they're asking the right questions, I'm kind of looking at them going, who told you they asked that? And if I find out there's somebody behind the scenes and they're chirping in their ear, but they're not talking to me, I always look back at it and said, if I would have known that from the beginning, we could have brought that person in and we could have had better conversations and kind of like what you're doing, so to speak. But the builder would have been, we would have known about it and we would have been able to work together and moving forward. So I think what you're doing is really, really great to help people because I talk about vision all the time and information and you really have to have something as you come into this, but it's the fine line details that you're helping these people with. How much of this stuff that you're doing is more just they know what they want, but you're building the confidence in their decisions that they're making? Yeah.
So a lot of them, they know what they want, but they might have, 50 Pinterest boards and they have no idea how to narrow it down. So I'm helping them really get more granular and, just come up with an overall vision. I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm helping them to take all of those ideas and narrow it down to what they really want. And sometimes that means me looking at their Pinterest boards and saying, I see a common theme here. That's what I'm helping them do, find common themes so they can really define how they envision their house.
I'm glad.
And one thing I want to say is that I have had clients whose builders are just so happy when they meet with them for the first time when they meet with the client because they have never had someone so prepared to answer their questions. And so really, I'm hopeful that I'm doing builders a service by doing this because it's taking some of the pressure off of the builders because some clients just think that you guys are going to make all the decisions for them. And that's not how it works. So
I'll make the decisions for them, but I don't think they're going to like it all. I was going to say the same thing that you were saying, when our architect and when we all sit down in the first couple meetings and we say, hey, when go to House, go to Pinterest, go to our website, and just you have a different eye now that you're thinking about building a house and you're going to be paying attention to different things. And if you show me 10 pictures of the exterior of a house, I guarantee you we can find 10 similarities in each one of those houses, even though they're all different styles, they're all different colors, they're all different shapes. We could probably look at it and say, well, this one, they all have these chimneys on them and this is a look that you like, or they all have this grid of window in them and this is the grid that you like, and they just weren't even paying attention to that. It's just something that drew it to them. So I think that you narrowing that down or you pointing that out helps them. I think the thing that I was thinking about with builders, and I've been in this business literally my entire life, and I've been in home builders associations throughout the state and throughout the country, and I'm not stereotyping builders, but I'm just telling you that most of them have an ego the size of Texas. And so when you come into a situation where you have a lady on the backside telling a customer, and I could see where they would be like, well, we're the kings, we know everything, and they don't know anything, and I could see where that would go.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that's where I was going with that question. Yeah,
actually, I feel like I mean, I'm going to be honest. I really don't know that much about actual building. I mean, my husband knows a lot, but I don't know very much about the nuances of building. I am definitely more big picture. Everything I'm helping them do is before they ever break ground. So I would never claim to know more than a builder or know how to do it right. I'm just helping equip the clients so that you guys as builders have a better experience with them and they have a better experience with you.
Yeah.
Because they are more knowledgeable. And I mean, I'm teaching them things like this, even the difference between different flooring, not to say this is the best or this is the worst, but just so when you guys go to flooring meetings, for example, to retailer, they don't walk in there having no clue the difference between LVP and engineered wood flooring. I'm just like giving them an overall view of what to expect. And then I leave it up to the builder. I always defer to the builder for specific questions.
Have you, I mean, when you're going through this, I mean, I want to talk about a number of different things and I'm jumping around here a little bit, but when you get into doing these things, as a builder, we always create our own documents. I mean, we see a need and we build it. We see a need and we build it. And there's tons of builder software out there that all claim that they are going to fix everything. But what have you seen, like when you get into this and you start thinking about these things? What kind of documentation have you built yourself that's been in reaction to what you've gone through with some of these designs and selections and things? Do you help customers in that way too, where you're documenting things?
Sort of, in a way. My thing is more knowledge based. It's not, an app that they can put everything in and keep track of everything. Although I do give them several spreadsheet templates, but they're pretty basic compared to what a builder would provide. But mine is more knowledge based. Like it's more when it comes to products and selection, that I'm just giving them an overview so that they're not like a deer caught in headlights when they're trying to figure things out. But as far as the big picture planning, I consider myself more looking into the psychology of how their family works and how their family functions so they can really design a home that works for their family. So I haven't gotten into, I don't deal with any of the apps, or I know some of them are really great though that keep everything organized, but that's not even something that's part of what I do. So
yeah, I wouldn't expect you to do that for the builder. I just think, man, it's so cool to be able to get into this and you see people and the next time you meet with somebody, you're like, hey, look at this, what we did with this person, this, what we did with this person. And you're designing. It's pretty neat to be able to talk through with people. So when you think about budgeting, and you said this before that you built your house in budget, and it's such a huge hurdle in the custom home process. And I think that, there's definitely I start with a budget, of course. I mean, everybody has a budget and people are like, oh, we ain't got all kinds of money. And I'm like, well, even the people that have all kinds of money still have a budget. And when we're building a $5 million house, there's a budget there. So I think that's always a hurdle. We start with a base budget, but then when we go into selections, when we go into doing other things, people want more things. So when you talk about keeping people in budget, are you saying, hey, we can do these things, but here's the way to do it in your budget? Or you say, hey, we can do these things, but it's going to cost more? Flooring,
so what
whatever.
what I do, because I'm not a builder and because I'm not part of their actual building process, I walk them through. I have a program and I walk them through. One of the steps is to create a realistic budget. And I basically walk them, through the program. They're doing all this on their own, but it's all guided questions to get them thinking about what's most important to them and what things they're not willing to give up, as well as things they are willing to give up. So they go into their build with this, what I call just splurge and save plan. So they can use that as a guide where when they need to cut back on something, they can go to the save list and say, okay, I don't really need the basement finished right now. We'll wait on that or something like that. But what was the actual question? I think
we were just talking about when you talk about a budget, it's like, you can build a house with the budget that we propose, but when you have LVP figured into your basement floor, because that's what you told us you wanted, but then you realize you want like an engineered hardwood down there, that costs more money. What is the relationship to staying in budget when it comes to things like that?
So my whole goal with my program is to help them figure all that out before they break ground or before they get a quote even. So I walk them through the different options so they can really, really like have as much hammered out as possible. I always say, you don't need to know the manufacturer. You don't even need to know the actual material sometimes, but you need to know what type of flooring you want where. You need to know if you want custom cabinets all over the house, or do you want to do semi-custom? Do you want inset cabinets? Like, we go over these things so that they know this ahead of time, because honestly, and you might agree, I think that's the only way to stay on budget is to stick to what you got your quote for, and which is not ideal if you don't really know what you want. But if you know everything you want ahead of time, then you have a much better chance of sticking to budget. And that, your quote might be higher, but that's when you go into your splurge and save plan and figure out what you can cut to get the quote down. Now, I do think there are definitely things that come up, during the build that they realize they want once they're building. And I just think that's where contingency funds come in. I usually say you need to have some contingency funds for things that come up that you don't know yet that you want. So, but I'm not there like managing their budget or anything. I'm just equipping people to do this on their own with their builder.
Yeah. And I would, I think about when you talk about contingencies, I think I know that you have to have that extra money, but whether you tell anybody you have it, that's up to you to decide. But when you're working through these things with these people, I think it's important. When I know you say you're not a builder, but you know so many different details, and when you talk about custom cabinetry, you probably have to explain to people what the difference between custom cabinetry is and standard cabinetry. Mm-hmm. And to me, custom cabinetry mainly comes down to colors that you can get these cabinets, with when you get into multiple colors, when you get to multiple drawer heads, multiple piece drawer heads, inset cabinets, and also when you start getting into the sizes of the cabinets. That's really what it means by custom. And custom doesn't necessarily mean that it's higher quality either. You can get people that build cabinets that still suck at building cabinets. So you got to make sure that you're explaining. True. So are you explaining that kind of detail to these customers, to your customers, to say, hey, this is where we are, or this is what you can expect out of this stuff?
I'm just giving them an idea of what, I'm giving them an idea of how they can save costs, or I don't tell them, some custom cabinetry might suck or whatever, but,
sorry,
but I'm just
those are
saying,
my words. Sorry.
No, but I'm saying like things like overlay cabinets, that's going to be less expensive than inset, or 5-panel drawers or cabinet doors are going to be more expensive than a flat panel. So just kind of giving them an overview. And I share a lot of my experience and what I have in my house. So I'll explain that, you can have custom inset painted cabinets in your kitchen, and then in your laundry room, you can do semi-custom, or even IKEA if you want. So, which I did not do. I actually did custom, but yeah, I'm just saying there are options, and you don't have to do the same thing throughout the house. So I'm not giving them actual dollar amounts because I don't have that information, but I'm explaining to them what's most expensive down to what's least expensive.
Yeah. And I think that would be really tough to to talk about money. I mean, I have a hard time doing that. When somebody says, well, how much more does that cost? I'm like, I don't know. But you can definitely explain the differences because, I used to hear people say, like a long time ago, say, are your cabinets have plywood sides on them? I'm like, what do you care if they have plywood sides on them or not? And I had one guy say, well, if the place floods, we want to make sure them cabinets are going to hold up. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So don't worry about some of those rumored details, that you're thinking about. What are some red flags that you hear from your followers when it comes to finding a builder or a budget even?
So the red flags, and I hear them, they don't necessarily say they're red flags, but when I hear them, I think that's a red flag. If the builder is saying no to just about it, like, no, we do it this way. We can't do it that way. No, we do it this way. I don't like when a builder is, I know there are certain things that have to be done a certain way, but sometimes builders, I even experienced this with mine, they just don't want to do it a different way because it's different and they're not used to that. And another red flag, the biggest red flag, is when my clients get, multiple quotes from potential builders, and one is way lower than the other one. That's a massive red flag for me. And I always tell them to kind of, get more information or do not go with that builder because I know that you tend to spend more money, possibly even more than the other builders when all is said and done. So those are red flags. Also, if they don't call back or they don't respond to messages, that's a red flag as well. But yeah, those are the red flags that I can think of with builders, which I'm sure you do none of those. So you're good.
I hope not. I would agree. The sticks and bricks of the house, even if we're going up against a production builder, it's not like I'm paying $5 for studs and they're paying 10 cents for studs. There's just not that big of a difference in there. And if they're way, way over or way, way under, there's something not included or something that's included. Or, I mean, if you're looking at the numbers and there's a lot of builders out there that just don't know their numbers. And that's the key. We can all be super excited about coming in here with a lot of pride, building the dream homes, building some really, really awesome houses, doing some really cool things. But if you're not turning a profit, the correct profit, and understanding the difference between gross and net, then you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm making $2,000 on this house. That's enough for me. But then, you get into it with your customer and it's not enough for anybody. And now the customer's upside down. And so that's a good point to make when people are simply searching on numbers and not necessarily on the passion of the builder. That's tough.
And I think that some builders that give a really low quote, like you said, they just don't, maybe they're new. They just don't know. And they're not doing it maliciously, but I feel like almost always they end up going over that quote anyway, pretty significantly once they get into it, because they're probably not considering all the upgrades that the client wants. So
when you are, what's your customer base look like? I mean, are you working with people all over the United States, or are you regional, or what's your work look like?
They are all over. I actually don't work with anyone local. I do everything online, and ironically, a lot of the people I work with do happen to be in the Midwest. I don't know if that's just how I attract, like the way I talk attracts Midwestern people, but a lot of the people are in the Midwest and the Southeast, and they tend to be building houses probably not as high end as what you do, maybe around, $750,000 to $1 million. And a lot of them, they're empty nesters. I thought I would work with a lot of young families, but it tends to be people who are building like their final home and they just want to get it right. And they have the time and the budget to include me in the process. So
I asked that question because, all across the United States, we use different materials for different climates, for different places that you have to do things, with different windows. And when you're on the water somewhere, you're using different impact windows. You're using a lot of just different stuff. And I just wanted to know how you keep up with the trend or the required materials in those areas. If you're making selections with people, that's tough.
I don't. I'm not making any selections. I don't choose any of their design materials. And that's why I always defer to builders. I've had people I always say you need to talk to your builder about your local codes and what you need to do. Actually, a lot of people that I am working with are building on lakes. So they have very different codes than what I have here. But I always defer to the builder. And when I've had people want to join the program and they want to be their own GC, I always tell them that's fine. But I worked with a builder. I don't think I would ever not work with a builder unless my husband became a GC. But I don't know all the nuances of every place in the country. That's why I think builders are so important, because you guys have those answers for your location.
I hope we do.
Well, if you don't, you can at least find the answers.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not going to know the codes everywhere.
Yeah. For sure. So you have the signature course focus, and so why don't you talk about that? Like what's your program? You offer the Before You Build course. Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, it's a course that the reason it's called Before You Build is because it's preparing my clients or students, whatever you want to call them. It's preparing them before they ever break ground to have a successful build. And my goal is for everyone to build on budget, or at least very close to budget, and to move into their home with no regrets, or just, very minimal. If they have a minor regret, that's fine. But I just want everyone to be as happy as I was when I moved into my house. And so I've kind of taken everything I learned from building and from working with people who are building. I put that into a course. It's self-paced. I walk them through clarifying their vision, like we go really deep. And then I help them find a builder. I don't help them hire a builder, but I walk them through the process of finding the right builder for them, figuring out the right team for them. Do they need an architect where they live? Do they not? Do they need a designer? We walk through that. Then I help them create a realistic budget that takes into account, like what I was talking about earlier, where we go really deep and figure out what they want before they even break ground, so that they can get an accurate budget and know where they need to cut, or where they can splurge. And then the last step is designing their dream home. And I just kind of walk them through the process of designing their custom floor plan, or if they buy a plan online, I help them tweak it. I offer all my clients a floor plan feedback session where I look at their plan, make sure it's functional, which most of them are not. So it's nice to, offer them that feedback and let them know there are some red flags in there. And then I help them build their design foundation. We kind of go through defining their design style, figuring out what timeless design they like. And then it just they follow a little formula. It helps them to know exactly how they envision their home design. And then they just kind of use that as a guide for every decision. And that's what really builds the confidence, because they know what they want. They're not going in like all jumbled in their mind, having no idea what they want. So that's what it is. And then I meet with them once a week. Whoever's available comes to a weekly call. I just got off one, actually. And then, that's it. It's just a program people sign up for. I give them access as long as they need it, because some people it takes 4 or 5 years to plan and build. And so I just let them stay in the program as long as they need. So that's what I do.
that was going to be my next question is how long is this? How long is typical process for you? Like when that your time is involved into it. I don't know if you recognize this by the hour or if you look at it by the job or how it is. But if somebody calls you up today or signs on today, and says, "Hey, we want to work with you," I mean, what kind of time frame are you looking at for things?
So it's all completely self-paced. It's like a one-to-many model. So everything's online. I have the whole program is in like a member portal. The calls are all on Zoom. So if someone joined today, they don't even have to talk to me directly. It's just like joining any online course, really. They sign up, they can work at their own pace. They always have access to me to ask questions, but yeah, they can get started right away. The only thing that I do sometimes have to say we need to wait a little while until I can get this done is the floor plan feedback sessions, because that takes time for me to go through those and really look at them with a fine-tooth comb and offer suggestions. So it's all it's all kind of runs on its own, to be honest. So whenever I'm saying I walk them through, I'm doing everything I used to do one-on-one with clients. It's all in like course form now. It's worksheets with guided questions that I would ask them if I was sitting there one-on-one with them. If that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does somebody, like if hey, we're going to build a house, how do they start with you, or how do they find you, or what's the step to say, that you're the one that they're going to deal with?
Well, people find me all kinds of ways online, but, so are you asking like where I am online, or?
Well, I mean, I think if I'm sitting here and I'm Jeff Whelan and I'm in South Texas or something like that, and I'm thinking about building a house, and what makes me want to call you or jump online and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. But I mean, where would one person find out that there's somebody like you that exists out there? I mean, I think this is super helpful for people. And I think it's really, really important that somebody could be able to know that you're out there.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question, because I've been doing this for years. I think 8 or 9 years, but I started my program in 2020, so it's been 5 years. I've had hundreds of people go through that have found me, through my podcast or website or Instagram or wherever. But I'm still trying to figure out how to get the word out, because it's such a unique niche that people don't know that I exist, and they don't know that this is a problem that they can solve. So that's actually a really interesting question. I just kind of throw stuff out there. I have content everywhere, and I just hope it reaches the right people so that they know that there's someone there that can help them, basically. And talking to you, I think, is really helpful, just to kind of get the word out that there is this service, but nobody really knows about it unless they find me online, because nobody's searching up home build coach, I don't think. And maybe they are.
I don't know. I mean, I think that the biggest, I have a business coach, I have mentors, I have people that I look up to and always asking questions. And of course, if you're involved in a church or anything like that, what it's like to ask for help. And most of the common issue with asking for help is being able to ask for help. And then once you ask for it, is being able to listen to it and understand why you needed it. And so, I mean, I've always, I grew up and thinking that in business, we just work hard. You keep working hard and you're going to be fine. And hard work always prevails. But then, you realize that there's tools that you need, and that works fine if I'm swinging a hammer and slinging 2x4s. But if I'm running a business, I need help understanding people, personalities, paperwork, budgets, all these different things. So I had a business coach, have a business coach that I rely heavily on in certain times, and I have a peer group, and through National Association of Home Builders, that I rely on a lot for different information, and I think that's the same thing with you. When people realize that there's a service that like you provide, to where they can get help in this process, it's going to be, it's great that they even had the intelligence to reach out. So I think that's really good.
Yeah. And that's,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have a business coach also, and that's what kind of got me into this world of coaching, because I just think it's so valuable. And I consider myself a home build coach. I'm not a builder. I'm not an architect. I don't take the place of any of that. I just kind of coach people to help them feel more confident while they're building. So sorry, you were going to ask something.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, looking back at your own build and your journey since then, what's some advice that you can give somebody that's starting their custom home today, as they start off onto this journey?
I think my biggest advice, and this is kind of what I preach, is plan ahead. Like, do everything you can do before you break ground to really envision your home and explain that to your builder, because I think that is the best way to stay close to budget, or even maybe come in on budget or under budget. I just think the planning component is so important. And that's what I do with my program. But whether people join or not, I just want everybody to really dig deep and think about what they want, so that they can get accurate quotes and communicate with their builders better. That's kind of what I do.
The planning, and I always refer to a painter. When you see a painter puttying and caulking, it's the most miserable process of probably what he does, but it's the preparation that leads to the great final product. So everything that we do and that you do preparing for this build, it's whatever you do in that time is one of the most important things, because it's going to set you up for success as you roll through the build. So I would be really interested in trying to find one of my customers to reach out with you, and we work together and all together as a team.
Yeah.
And go through this process with you to be able to help our people to be able to understand what you do, and then maybe I think it would be really cool to come back on after we do that to talk about what we both learned from each other, and kind of continue this relationship on. Even though I've never met you in person, but I've enjoyed talking to you today. I think this could be pretty neat.
Yeah, I would love that, because I actually because I'm not a builder and I don't have actual building knowledge, I just have, big picture knowledge of how to plan for a build. I love learning from builders and just seeing how I can make your job with your clients easier through what I do, through helping them plan before they even come to you. So that would be a really cool thing to do.
Let's talk more about that, and then even when we do get hooked up, then I can kind of give people updates on the podcast as we go through that time. So that would be pretty neat. So if you're coming to Oxford sometime soon, we'd love for you to catch up with us, and make sure while you're in there that you visit Bello Pizza in downtown on Brick Street there, because it's really good. A friend of mine owns that place. But if you are in town, we'd love for you to swing by our office and we could catch up and meet in person. So is there any final words that you want to say? Anything that you want to pass on to anybody?
I don't think so. I think just, plan for your build, have fun. I just want people to know that building can actually be fun. It doesn't have to be this horrible experience that everybody says it is. So, and I would love to come visit you guys. I'll be there. My sister just bought a house actually near Westchester, so I will actually be there helping her design her house. So
good. That's good. That's
I'll be there. I think I'll be there in August. So I'll be back in touch with Leanne and figure that out.
Let's do it.
So,
Let's do it. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day and being on the WB download here with us, and just all of anybody that's helping a customer more in this experience in this journey. It's just great to be able to have that. So thank you for what you do, and thanks for taking time to be here. And I'll for sure catch up with you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carrie Barker from Caroline on Design out there in Champaign, Illinois. So thank you again for being here, Carrie, and we'll catch you soon.
all right. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, folks, there you have it. Thank you so much, Carrie, for coming on the show. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here and to be on the WB download. This is again, like I said last week, this is one of the reasons why I do this. You get to meet so many cool people, and you get to have so many cool conversations. You get to hear their story and find out what drives them and what they do and why they do it. And so this has been fun for me. And I just can't stress enough that we want to go through an experiment with Carrie. We want to have some people sign up with her, and then we want to come back and follow up and talk about the process. Anything that we can talk about on a WB download that is going to help another builder or help another customer or somebody thinking about building a house, that's what we're here for. That's what we want to do. I had a good conversation last week with my good friend Alan Schmidt, and he was asking me about it. And I said, hey, if we're spilling our guts on this show, and if we're telling all of our secrets and we're telling all kinds of things, and it helps a builder out there be a better builder, it helps a builder have a better experience with a customer, then that's what we want. There's nothing worse than being out here in this industry and you got guys out there building houses that suck, that can't run a business, that maybe was a good something or another in the construction trade, and then they decided to become a builder. Let's learn the right processes. Let's learn all these good things, and let's treat these customers the way they deserve to be treated. And if this is going to help you, let's help you. And I believe that's what Carrie's doing with Caroline on Design. So good on you. And thank you again so much for being on the show. Thank you to everybody listening. I'm hoping that our next guest will be the good guys from Walk Your Plans up in Cleveland, Ohio. And we've got a story behind this, but that's who we want to have on the show for the next time around. And we're going to talk about so many cool things that these guys are doing, and I'm excited about I'm looking forward to that interview. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the WB Download on your favorite podcast service. Subscribe. Don't just listen to an episode, but like the show, subscribe to the show, and continue to follow us and follow up every week. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, send me some questions, man. Give me a call. Send me an email, whatever. It's wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com, WIELAND builders.com. Don't forget, we drop on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. And if you want to get more behind the scenes of the podcast, check us out at wielandbuilders.com. Check us out on YouTube. And in between now and the next episode, if you see Miss Alicia Beaver out there, you need to wish her a happy birthday, because it's going to be her birthday in between now, and then it's also going to be America's birthday. So, hey, everybody, I hope you enjoy the 4th of July. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you here the next time on the WB Download. I'm Jeff Whelan.